congrats to Caitlin Clark. Not because she lost and the Fever are no longer in the WNBA playoffs, but what a rookie season for the best player in basketball, in women's basketball, and for the WNBA. So they flame out in 2 games. But no Caitlin Clark now for the WNBA playoffs means what? I'm sitting here thinking about all of the discussion that we had throughout the regular season that the league is more than just one player. And that's true. I mean, I'm search some of the numbers, Chad. Game 2 of Las Vegas and Seattle had 985,000 viewers. There was another game that held around 830,000 viewers. But I believe Game 1 with Caitlin Clark and the Fever, they pulled in over 1.5 million. And now what happens to that viewership?
Roughly double what you're talking about.
Yeah. And I mean, that was the trend throughout the season, right? I mean, she comes in, takes over the Indiana Fever, craziness, sellout crowds, 769 points, 2 triple doubles in the season. That's important because that had never happened. And she did it twice. Attendance is up like 500% compared to what some of these other games would have pulled. And merchandise up 450%. And now she's out of the playoffs. What a gift for the WNBA and for ESPN for that matter. But now what happens? I'm really intrigued because there's a league with players that feel like they should be getting the attention. Now they have center stage, but the ratings are going to go down. How far, though? That's the key. And are they going to be pointing fingers and blaming Indiana Fever fans and Caitlin Clark fans whenever the ratings don't stay the same? Surely not.
Yeah, they will. Because here's going to be the argument now. It's going to be, before the argument was the league is much more than this one girl that came into the league,
right,
and we've established it, and hey, look at the numbers everywhere else across women's basketball. It's not just Caitlin Clark, it's all of us. And then the moment the ratings tank, they're going to come back and say, see, we were right all along. It's all the racists that follow Caitlin Clark that were watching the product, and now they're gone, and we're back with our diehards. And that's the ratings that you're seeing, actual W fans, not WNBA, actual W fans.
Let me get it right.
That's going to be the argument
the W.
Do you want – go ahead.
But I was going to say, like, the ratings aren't bad even without her on the screen. They're still up year to year. But
because of her.
Well, right. But now does that carry over, right? Like, I didn't think it was going to carry over in college basketball, right? But the ratings are still up. But is that going to be a headline when they dip when she's not playing? And now they have to go through the postseason. They're going head-to-head with the NFL. We pointed that out yesterday, which isn't smart. But it's programming for ESPN. And McClain was right yesterday. It's not like Caitlin Clark was going to be going deep in the playoffs anyway. But what a great start and what a jump start to a career.
W expert John McClain was all over that prediction.
Yeah.
Numbers are going to be up year to year because Caitlin Clark wasn't in the WNBA last year. So ESPN is going to spin this as a positive that their playoffs will be much higher rated than they were a year ago, even the playoffs without Caitlin Clark.
Yes.
But because they were so low, that really isn't telling you the whole story. It is bad news for the WNBA that she's not continuing to play. Alejandro Avila wrote the story for OutKick. We love Alejandro. Alejandro's saddest words he's ever written, outside of the review he did for 80 for Brady at the OutKick site, the saddest words that he's ever written are the following.
Okay.
And I'm reading this directly from his story. Advancing to the WNBA semifinals, the Sun will take on the winner of the Minnesota Lynx and Phoenix Mercury series.
Wow.
That's a sad, sad sentence that's written for the viewer and written for the WNBA. Now that Indiana is out and Caitlin Clark is out. So it's not a good thing for the WNBA. Ratings will go way down, but ratings will remain up as opposed to a year ago without Caitlin Clark in the league at all. So the WNBA is still going to be able to sell to everyone that it's an improving product, and I think that's probably true. I'll go back to what I said about the eye gouge heard around the world that was not dealt with in any way. If you're going to get serious ratings and serious numbers and serious improvement, become a serious league. And you do that by suspending someone who does that, especially after what she put online in regards to Caitlin Clark. You can't allow that to happen. And then I didn't know what happened. I didn't even know that I hit her.
Right.
Afterward, you're a high level athlete.
I didn't know that happened.
You know when you put your finger through someone's eye.
Well,
it's something that you're going to feel and know.
The mannerism
especially
too.
when you're wearing claws.
Yeah.
At the very least, come back and say, "Hey, you can't wear clip-on nails."
You should be able to do that.
Yeah, I don't know how that's allowed to begin with. So it's going to be bad. She had an incredible season. Another thing I'm curious about, and I'm reading this directly from the OutKick story, a tweet from Stat Mamba comparing Caitlin Clark, and it says, Caitlin Clark, 25 points, 6 rebounds, 9 assists. The last rookie in WNBA playoff history to reach these numbers was Magic Johnson in 1980.
Wow.
I personally like this because this is a comparison point I understand. Oh, Magic Johnson was great. He could do everything. Caitlin Clark just had a playoff series like Magic Johnson did way back in his rookie year. We can all understand that, right?
Yep.
But when did we start combining WNBA with NBA history? That's the first time I've ever seen a NBA/WNBA graphic. I know they're owned by the same people.
We did it, though.
But I've never seen it combined this way.
We did it whenever she became the all-time leading scorer in basketball.
Yeah, well, and they do it because
and that carries over.
No one cares when it says the last rookie in WNBA playoff history was Tina Thompson.
Exactly right.
Or whatever, whoever it was that did it. Oh, okay, great. And people just scroll right past it.
Well, that
but
also
you throw
puts
Magic
in perspective.
Johnson's name in there, and it resonates with people.
I don't mind that at all, though.
I like the stat comparison.
Yeah.
I've never seen a combined NBA/WNBA stat.
And I'm keeping tabs on and an eye on the ratings headlines because they're going head-to-head with the NFL. ESPN is avoiding putting the WNBA playoffs on Mondays, of course, Monday Night Football, and they're also avoiding Saturdays because of their college coverage. But in between, there's going up to 7 different times throughout the postseason going head-to-head with the NFL. You have to avoid that at all costs.
Speaking of ESPN and college
that,
football.
That crushes your number. Yes.
It's crazy when you think about ESPN's control of the SEC.
Yes.
And how now, because you have it's the flex scheduling, but every game is this or this.
Yep.
So it's either 11 a.m. or 2:30 or 3 or whatever, or it's 3:30, 2:30, or 6:30 at night.
Yes.
So you know what time of day it's going to be in, but just how much control ESPN has over the SEC weekend.
It is crazy.
And then coverage from Saturday to Saturday with all of their I guess I've noticed it more because now it's really exclusive. They are exclusive partners now that CBS is out. So
I think they've crushed
all
it.
of the talk about Tennessee's a good example that's kind of shot up the rankings and they're 4-0. So much more talk about Tennessee across ESPN platforms. And it's in large part because
it's like whenever the NHL went away, now it's back.
Disney is the SEC. Just like Hulu is owned by Disney, the SEC in part from a distribution standpoint is owned by Disney, so it's all self-promoting. Anyway.
No, I mean,
topic for another day.
Don't you agree that they've done a great job with it?
Yeah.
I mean, I think they've crushed it. Meanwhile,
I think ESPN, when it comes to live sports, has always been the standard bearer, and I challenge anyone to say that. I mean, that's to show some conflict with that because they've always been the one that they're very good at that. It's everything else that's suspect at times, but when it comes to live sport content, they're still very good.
Yeah, they set the bar. Chad, they weren't stealing the bars. They were breaking seats, though, Oakland Colosseum, where A's fans were removing seats or trying to, last night after the A's played. Here's video evidence of this, briefly, if we have that. Yeah. They didn't make it out. They didn't make it out of the stadium with that.
I don't. It shows kind of how cheap they are too. Because they don't care. Also, I saw just a shameless deal from the owner that had this big statement about you need to support the team when they move to Vegas in Oakland. I mean, give me a break, dude. What a great keepsake, though, to put in your man cave. Yes. If you could get out of there with the side-by-side 2 seats from the stadium, if you're an A's fan. That would be so cool to have. But Hutton, we've seen this before where it's take your seat night.
Take your seat
at ballparks that are closing or stadiums.
Or get a part or a portion of a piece of the basketball court.
Yeah.
the trough at Neyland Stadium.
If
There are people that actually want that
A's
for the bathroom.
ownership had any heart at all,
Yeah.
they would have let that guy take it out, or they would have just allowed everyone.
When they released a statement
How
saying
many
that
people were even at that game?
I mean,
how
about
many,
as many as there were.
How many seats are we actually talking about?
So this is
15,000 that are going to leave? That's it?
Yeah, yes. 1,500.
I mean, yeah, take the seat, man. It's fine.
This is the view of the stadium whenever the Raiders were there during one of the regular season games. But the preseason is set up for the A's because you still have had the dirt at the 50-yard line. And check this out, Chad. This is coming out of the A's dugout, and at the 50-yard line for the Raiders, you'll see the infield. And what is craziness, the fact that they were allowing this to be an NFL surface.
I love
preseason. It just means more.
Long gone are the days. Remember, even like Joe Robbie Stadium back in the day, the Dolphins and the Marlins shared it for a short time. So there was infield also there. The old infields that would appear on baseball stadiums.
Oh, and it's not. I mean, they water down the dirt. I mean,
Candlestick Park.
It's not like this. It's not soft.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, guys would come to the sideline, cut up,
covered in dirt.
Yeah. R.I.P. to the Oakland Colosseum.
I mean, if there's any place where you should just be able to loot and take whatever you want when you
place.
leave,
it's dump.
This place.
Absolute dump.
I mean, there should have been like a plumber at the game taking out urinals. Take whatever the hell you want. Go to the concessions. Take fryers. Take a deep fryer with you. Here, would you like this carving station?
Yeah, I'm glad.
Go
I don't
ahead,
have to
take
go
it
back.
with you.
I'm glad I went at least. I think I went 3 times to this stadium. I'm glad I was there. Glad I don't have to go back.
Take a beer cart with you if you have a vehicle that can carry it home.
There's a big wasp nest in the broadcast booth there.
Oh my gosh. Do you think it just lives there all the time, or was that just special for your preseason game?
Probably there all the time.
I like how you phrase it as there's a big wasp nest in the broadcast booth, as if it lives there constantly. No, it just wasn't there the one time. Because I'm prone to believe you that it just stayed there. No one ever did anything about it.
We didn't. Yeah.
I think of the movie Moneyball.
We didn't touch it.
And I love that movie, Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
About Billy Beane the A's. But even in Moneyball, they couldn't church up that stadium. It looked awful. Every facility in that movie looked as terrible as it actually was. And I was depressed watching Brad Pitt drive into that parking lot every day. He'd be listening to sports talk radio in the movie, and he's driving. The most depressed I've ever been watching Brad Pitt was driving into the A's ballpark every day in Moneyball. It was
you're going to
awful.
Going to that place.
Going to work there.
Jed, you know what's going to be awful is the Braves travel and the mess that Braves and Mets face with this doubleheader coming up. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, they would play the doubleheader and then turn around and play out west the very next day?
Well, so it depends. And the Mets are also going to be inconvenienced in all this. Rob Manfred, they could have tried to push everything up because I think the Braves and the Mets are both off on Monday. So they could have played doubleheader Monday, a game on Tuesday, and gotten the 3 games out of the way, knowing the storm, the remnants of Hurricane Helene was coming through.
Yes.
Instead, though, the Braves were adamant. I don't blame them. They could also have moved it to a different park that wasn't being used. But the Braves were adamant, we're not going to give up home field advantage here in this key series. So we want to play them in Atlanta. So Major League Baseball could have overruled the Braves. They didn't. Instead, what they decided is they play the 1 game before the weather gets here. Braves win it. Now it's a 1-game difference for that last wild card spot. Now they have postponed it to a true doubleheader, not a day-night, on Monday. Those games may both be played. One of them may be played, or none of them may be played, depending on the standings. Now, odds are with a 1-game difference, at least one of those games will be necessary for one of those teams to lock it up, right? At least one of them. Now, Rob Manfred, here's the other thing. Even if it doesn't matter, let's say that the Mets are up 3 games, and those 2 games are left, and you know they're the playoff team. Rob Manfred could decide to go ahead and play those games simply to fulfill the 162 games both teams are supposed to play, where it would mean nothing to the Mets or the Braves.
But you still have to play the next day.
So then you have the Mets. Let's say the Mets are up 3, and it doesn't matter. They are now going to be forced to get on a plane, go back to Atlanta, play a doubleheader, fly immediately to Milwaukee, to get ready for a series right after that.
Is there I guess there's no possibility.
Now, you can play whoever you want.
Right.
You can pitch whoever
Lob
you
them
want. I'm guessing it'd probably be a pretty quick 2 games if it didn't mean anything for any of them, and to the offseason for one of them.
Think about if there's bonus money attached to hits, stolen bases, home runs, and you get these lobs.
I also don't know. I don't know the television contracts well enough in Major League Baseball to know how they pull this off.
Whatever it is, it's not good. We know that.
No, but they have a hell of an opportunity to extend their postseason here. And what I mean by that is you've got a chance. If it's a tied up or it's a 1-game difference going to Atlanta Monday, that's a doubleheader that a lot of New York City is going to watch.
Yeah.
That you're going to have a lot of baseball fans wanting to watch in the middle of the day on a Monday. Hutton, you get a bonus playoff day out of that. I mean, that's a de facto playoff doubleheader to kick things off. I'd be cool to see. Now, can you flex that to Fox? Is that going to be on FS1?
I don't see why you couldn't.
Does ESPN carry that? I don't know what national network could carry it, but that should not just be on SNY and Bally Sports.
It wouldn't be, though, surely.
But I don't.
They would give it to Apple.
Again, I don't know what the flex options are for things like that. I don't know what Major League Baseball could do with it. Yeah, it should be on Apple above those.
Yeah.
Or on all of them.
Or on all of them.
So,
if you can.
Look, it's a cool opportunity for Major League Baseball if this happens. It also could just be pure misery if it's already decided come Monday. And they're still forced to play these games.
Some players are not going to be forced to play any more games. They're redshirting. And an interesting storyline came out, was this yesterday? And now we're getting confirmation that the player is actually is going to redshirt. It's a trend that seems to be continuing. And this time frame fits because they're under the threshold that is would keep you from being able to redshirt a year, 4 games or less. So now's the time we're going to see this. And Lincoln Riley didn't like the questioning.
Yesterday, so Bear Alexander's the player, defensive lineman for USC. He's a big-time player recruit. Lincoln Riley, let's just set it up saying this. Lincoln Riley was asked about if he's unhappy or if something is brewing with Bear Alexander a day ago.
And this is from Ryan Young of Rivals.
And just not getting kind of as much opportunity.
He played over a third of the game, So, people want to act like the guy's not playing snaps. He's doing a good job for us out here. He's getting better. There's no story there. I know you guys are looking for one. There's no story there. The guy's out here working hard. He's improving. He's in a new system with a new coach. He's getting better. I think he's going to continue to get better. It should be hard to play D-line at USC. It ought to be kind of hard. If it's not, it wasn't hard last year, and that's why we weren't very good up there. You know what? We're pretty decent up there, and it's hard, and the margins are thin. So sometimes it's not what somebody's not doing. It's competitive, and there's tough decisions to make every week. But if you see guys out on the field, then we are excited about what they're doing on the practice field and believe that they give us a chance to win. Go look at the last snap of the game, see who's on the field. And so there's no story there. Guy's getting better. He needs to keep improving, and I'm confident that he will with the coaching that he has and the room that we have in there.
So no story there. And then a day later, 24/7 Sports has the story confirmed from Tony Jones, who is Bear Alexander's guardian, confirmed that Alexander will be taking a redshirt season and not playing anymore for USC. Hutton, that was the voice and the demeanor of a guy who just had to sit down and talk with Bear Alexander or his representative or his guardian or a position coach or someone, and he's pissed off about the loss to Michigan. And now he's got this kid who's pissed off about his playing time and opportunity. And he is asked about it immediately, knowing probably that word of that meeting got to the reporter asking the question, and that was the defensive response that he gave. And Hutton, it sounded like kind of his, I'm going to tell you why I think he should still be here. He played a third of the game. He's working hard, playing hard, but
21 snaps, though.
It's going to be tough.
And
now he's gone.
So this doesn't seem to have anything to do with compensation, but fit and playing time. But, how much of this is, and I'm just throwing this out, the guardian, Tony Jones, played a fact, because he's the one confirming it, played a factor behind the scenes on, he's not getting the playing time that we discussed. We're going to redshirt. We're going to, take our talents elsewhere. That sucks. It's, we would see this at quarterback where the 5-star is backing up the 5-star, and if you didn't play within a certain amount of time, he's transferring, right? But we have this, wide open college football landscape where you can transfer at any time and you can negotiate, pay for play, all you want, and there's no boundaries to keep things within the framework of what makes sense once the season gets going.
It's easy to know what's going on when Matt Sluka at UNLV, your starting quarterback, decides to opt out to redshirt and then transfer somewhere else. Or Bear Alexander, who is playing and contributing, if he just sits out. Hutton, I wonder how many times this happens with guys who aren't playing at all, and they come to the coach and say, I want a redshirt, and the coach, they have some agreement that's like, yeah, you won't play. And no one knows about it. Doesn't get to the media. He doesn't leave the team and become a distraction, but it's just an agreement with the coach. Don't put me in a game because I want to have the ability to transfer because I'm not going to break the rotation here. So these are high-profile examples of that. How often does it happen where we don't know about it at different programs? I guarantee you it's been going on because this is now – it's sad, and I hate it. But now the whole thing is you better watch out for that game number 4 or 5 because they can't play more than 4 games.
Right.
So once you get through 4, see who all drops out. I've read about Florida being a possibility. After the UCF game, that's their 4th game, you might have some guys opt out after that won't even play in the Tennessee game.
Florida State? I'm just like...
Possibly. I would say Florida State right now much less likely to fire their coach, especially if, he got a win on Saturday, if they can string together a few wins. But if you feel like you went to play for a coach or a program and that program is about to start over with a new coach, then there are just going to be guys who put their hands up and say, I'm not going to sit here and struggle through this if I know I'm probably going to leave and go somewhere else that recruited me hard out of high school.
Yeah, I mean, and then you have Hugh Freeze calling out quarterback play. What could happen there? Again, like you have to walk this very, very thin line in order to keep players happy and parents as well. It's ridiculous. And there's no structure to keep things on the road.
Well, and just long gone are the days of, I made a commitment to the team and I'm going to stick with it with the team.
I'm going to earn playing time.
Or I'm going to keep practicing harder and I'm going to work my way there because I know other guys aren't working as hard as I am. Yeah. That's above me. It's just, this doesn't feel right, so let's go somewhere else and see if I can get that right feeling at the next place I go to or that's winning a little bit more or whatever it is. And it's just all kind of sad.
Chad, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, they're saying that Travis Kelce isn't all that sad. It's not like he's old and washed up because of the lack of production so far through the season. Andy Reid on Travis Kelce and the fact that he has 8 catches for just 69 yards to begin the season. I know people are saying that he's old or that he has distractions, but defenses don't think that. Trav is fine. He just keeps being Trav. He works his tail off. He hasn't lost his step. He's not distracted. Some of these defenses are making sure he's taken care of. Haven't they always done that?
Like they just now found out about him?
Yeah, they've always tried to double.
Do you think defensive coordinators saying, guys, maybe we should have a game plan for Taylor Swift's boyfriend?
Right.
Just once he started dating T. Swift, they said, I've recognized this guy now.
What would be the distraction?
Maybe we should have some bracket coverage on this guy.
Yeah. What would be the distraction this year, though?
I'm curious about Trav. Is that what Taylor calls him,
Trav. Oh, maybe.
Is that the nickname? Is Trav?
That's going to be the name of the album?
Whatever he was wearing at the U.S. Open, is that when he's Trav? Is that his alter ego, Trav, that him and Mahomes were wearing?
Trav.
I've never heard Kelce referred. I've heard him as Travis and Kelce. Never heard Trav.
Yeah, that's not very locker room lingo.
It's very funny that his head coach and Andy Reid refers to him as Trav.
Well, and the other thing too is,
do you think media is going to start referring to him as Trav? They say Travis and he corrects them. No, it's Trav.
Trav.
It's Trav now.
Like Coach Prime. It's Coach Prime.
It's Prime.
He's saying, like, hey, Patrick is, he's talking about Mahomes, distributing the football where it needs to go. They're doing fine, by the way. And prior to the season, though, he did say he didn't want to take a step back in how much he was going to be used within the offense. No player does, right? But there has been a lot of discussion about, is this his last year going for the three-peat? They're all in on that. Coming up, we've got our NFL Lock of the Week.
So Trav,
I will have something with Trav.
Trav is on this show coming to FX, Grotesquerie. He's acting in that. Did it this offseason. He's going to be in Happy Gilmore too. Now's the time to transition into his life in Hollywood. That's what it feels like to me. Baby steps.
Well,
he's in a TV show. He's in a movie. It feels like to me this would be the time to go ahead and retire at the end of the season and go fully into him as an actor or whatever he's going to be.
But on the way
next.
out, go for the three-peat.
And I think he's going to try to be an actor.
Yeah. Armando Salguero's coming up in about 10 minutes or so. Clay Travis, he's going to be interviewing President Trump at the Georgia-Alabama game this Saturday. The plan is to place this on OutKick around halftime, and you'll be able to watch this interview at OutKick.com. Clay with President Trump at the Alabama-Georgia game coming up on Saturday. Can't wait to see this.
Very cool.
Yeah.
It's good alternative halftime programming.
Yeah. It's like, remember when MTV did the halftime show during the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
What was a celebrity death match?
Yeah.
Is what it was?
They have the dog thing that goes on too during the Super Bowl at halftime.
Yeah, that's right.
Did you ever watch that? Didn't they have a lingerie bowl one year at halftime on one of the networks also?
That may have also been
There's
MTV.
some alternative network programming that goes on with all of that.
See, I remember the hype for that. And then once the halftime show's on, I don't even think about it.
I watched a lot of
WWE did something like that.
I watch a lot of the ESPN SEC games, and they'll tell you right before halftime at the 2-minute timeout, not 2-minute warning. They want to make it clear it's a 2-minute timeout. The 2-minute timeout, they say, you can turn now to ESPN Plus to watch the Band of Gold halftime performance from Missouri. And I'm thinking, who in the hell is doing that? So do this instead. Go watch Clay with former President Donald Trump at halftime instead of watching the $1 Million Marching Band or whoever's performing at halftime.
And it'll be, again, available at OutKick.com. It'll be all over socials.
I just love that we have wall-to-wall coverage of the Band of Gold's performance. We're not going to break away from it because it is a fixed camera that's on the field. And we're going to just air that bad boy for you right at halftime. If you don't have any other thing you're doing or any other game you want to watch,
this is where you want to be.
Go to ESPN Plus right now. Leave whatever you're watching, go digital, and watch the halftime show.
Watch this 30-minute halftime.
The band. It's going to be just electric. An electric factory.
Before we get to Armando Salguero, it's time for Primary Complaint.
It's time to air our top grievance of the week.
You can complain all you want.
My job is so unfulfilling. Don't run away from your feelings.
It's time for Hot Mike's Primary Complaint.
Guys, my primary complaint this week, wrinkle-free dress shirts always arrive wrinkled. My primary complaint.
It's a good one. The first wash, does it go wrinkle free? Is
no,
that the claim?
You still have to. I mean, it gets wrinkled, but it's so. I mean, it's just bundled up in this, very.
I'm curious if the claim is like
thin.
It's the reaction to the wash that makes it wrinkle free. So once you wear it and wash it, then suddenly it's wrinkle free.
Yeah,
it should just be wrinkle free all the time. It should be the.
You have
fabric.
to get wrinkles out in order to have a wrinkle free shirt. I don't understand.
It should be the fabric that makes it wrinkle free.
There you go.
My primary complaint is, I think people who call football games, specifically college football games, are trying to get a little too quick into the game of telling you when the game is over or likely over. And
dangerous.
I love Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit. I think they do a really good job. But, I mean, this was going on in the second quarter of Tennessee and Oklahoma. It was a lot of like, hey, I think a field goal here, and this thing's going to it's probably over. Tennessee comes down and kicks a field goal and goes up 22-3 or whatever it is. It's going to start getting really late for Oklahoma. And then later in the game, Oklahoma's driving with a chance to make it a one-score game if they get the 2-point conversion. And they were 16 down to make it an 8-point game.
Yep.
But, I mean, even with 2 minutes and 45 seconds left, hey, they might score a touchdown. Now, it doesn't matter mathematically because this game's been over for a long time.
Look at this fight.
I don't know why you're watching right now, by the way. I have no clue why you're not watching Baylor in Colorado that's taking place. But I'll tell you, this kid's showing a lot of fight, even though the game's over. And I'm thinking, it's not over, though. Like, they could score, could get a 2-point conversion. Then it all comes down to an onside kick, which has happened before. And then you got the ball with a minute and a half left to go score a touchdown, a 2-point conversion to tie it and send it to overtime. So let's pump the brakes a bit on calling game before it's actually game. That's my primary complaint.
Well done.
I do think there's that element of the announcer wanting to look right. You know, it's just like, because the odds of them coming back and losing that game are slim. So it's like, I feel like they're just going ahead and going out there and saying, like, I'm just putting this on the record. I'll be right. There's no way I'm wrong in this regard.
I think what they're doing, actually, and it's subconscious, they in their mind are talking through what the rest of their broadcast is going to be like. So it's just them thinking out loud, how does this game get interesting? Because what they want is a close game.
Let's find out who's going to fight.
More than anything else, right?
Fight, show that they want to play.
Reese Davis said that, and Kirk was even like, Tennessee fans are going to be mad at you now. Because in the NC State game, he was saying, we'd love to see NC State score here because we want a close game.
Yeah.
And he's like, not that I'm rooting for NC State, he clarified, but we want interesting things at the end. So
drama.
I think what they're saying is, boy, this is going to get old in the fourth quarter, and we're going to have to talk about all these other things we have prepared that the producers have for us in the fourth. I think they're just thinking out loud where what they should do is just talk about the game.
Just call the game.
Call the game straight up, and don't tell me when you think the game is over.
That's fair. I mean, if they were talking to their counterparts who called the Tennessee-Kent State game, that one was 71-0 at the end, so they had to dive into conversations that weren't football-related very early on into that.
Good point, Davey, because the flip side of this are the announcers. This could be a separate primary complaint, but I'll get into it now. The announcers that go nutty when it's like 44-0 over a touchdown by the other team, or their voice inflection sounds like they just scored a Hail Mary to tie it.
And they should act like Al Michaels.
Yeah, like you don't want to completely go mute on a touchdown, but you also don't need to be that excited. Like that's fine when it's that big of a blowout to downplay things a little bit.
Guys, my primary complaint surrounds Monday Night Hockey on Prime and NHL Coast to Coast. I was super excited thinking I was going to get an NHL Red Zone-like event to just happen every Monday through Amazon Prime. You know, tonight, Cowboys-Giants. It's like that. So these announcements have been made, but the thing they kept under wraps for a while, or at least they weren't promoting this on any of the graphics, anything as far as the talent they were discussing it, this is only in Canada. It doesn't apply to me. So you're going around just talking about, hey, we've got this new feature coming out to where you can get a better look inside the sport. Granted, I do play fantasy hockey. Humble brag, won the championship last year. But it's like I'm expecting this great thing that's going to be there. Now, granted, I could illegally stream it. But if you're telling me it's on Prime, I'm thinking, hey, I have access to Prime. I'll be able to watch it. No, it's only for people in Canada. A lot of talk about, you know, the southern border. We need to turn more attention to the northern border. The Canadians, they're getting out of control. I don't like this. I'm frustrated. And I don't know. I really don't know where
It's
to
only
go.
hockey
Well,
night
my
in
first
Canada.
thought was when I heard Davey was excited about this, I'm thinking, is Davey a closet Canadian? Because
No,
I feel
you
like
guys-
only
He wants
Canada
that now.
would be excited about this. And then Davey
Why?
says,
No.
it's only available in Canada. I'm like, because that's the market for it.
You guys,
Because so few people in the States want this product you're
if it's
talking
on,
about.
if it's on Prime, I mean, it's
Yeah,
like still
it's-
all the games. The other thing, and I've told
Yeah,
you
you
this.
should get it if you're a Prime
So
subscriber.
I take pride in the fact that like Canada can't win a Stanley Cup like any team. Like I go back to it. The stat is in my lifetime, 0 Canadian teams have won the Stanley Cup. It's going on.
1993, Toronto Maple Leafs was the last one?
I
Or
think it was
Canadians?
the Montreal
Canadiens
Canadiens
in 93,
Yep, last team to win it in Canada. And I want that trend to continue.
Yeah, the Maple Leafs were like the 60s,
This
I
has
think,
to
was
be
the last time they won
an
it.
ESPN contract deal.
The
States.
Canadian
Yeah,
team?
no, the
Oh.
broadcast rights, yeah.
I thought you were saying
yeah, well, that
ESPN.
too.
ESPN has colluded to keep Canada away from the Stanley Cup. I like that. Let's go with that conspiracy theory.